my friends, when you hear that music, that means it's time for the Soulful Psalms. The Soulful Psalms is where we take one of the Psalms from the wisdom literature of the Old Testament, the Psalms that we hear in each and every holy sacrifice of the Mass, and we connect that Psalm to your everyday lived experience. And I'm using the Revised Grail Psalms, which are approved for use in the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass, and were compiled by the Benedictine monks of Conception Abbey. So today, we're going to continue our look at a psalm that's one of the three psalms in the breviary, or in the Liturgy of the Hours, the Divine Office, in the 4-week cycle, that is not prayed at all. There's three of them: Psalm 58, the one we're looking at today, Psalm 83, and Psalm 109. Those are called imprecatory psalms, or quote-unquote cursing psalms. There's no bad language in there, but they're pretty vicious as far as the language that's used. So it's kind of attacking in a sense. But again, I agree with St. Augustine. I think we should include those psalms because we have to look at them allegorically. We have to look at them, in other words, how Christ is conquering and defeating sin. So we have to look at it through the lens of Christ's victory over sin and death. Although these are talking about victory, in this particular case, Psalm 83, they're talking about victory over Israelites' enemies. Right? So we're going to continue to look at Psalm 83. So Psalm 83 is in Book 3 of the Psalms, Psalms 73 to 89, and Psalms 73 to 83 are by Asaph. All right, so Asaph means gather. And so the prescript of the psalm is the entire first verse. It just says, Shir Mizmor HaAsaph. So a song, a psalm of Asaph. Right? So we looked at the first few verses of this psalm. We're going to start with verse 10 and make our way to verse 13. But it's been a while since we looked at this psalm. So it's talked about, oh God, do not be silent. Do not be still and unmoved, O God. For your enemies raise a tumult. Those who hate you lift up their heads. Right? So this psalm here, Asaph is talking about, okay, Lord, pay attention now. Our enemies are coming upon us. Lord, we're under siege here. And again, a way to think of this is sometimes we're under siege by sin. We are there's some temptations that happen to us if we have a habitual sin. We pray, Lord, please don't put me in a situation where I'm going to be tempted. Do not lead me away from your love. Lord, sometimes we have to pray to take people out of our life, at least temporarily, that are drawing us into a life of sin, that are leading us away from our relationship with God, that are causing us to act in a way that's not exuding holiness, that's giving into our carnal knowledge and desires, and so Jesus says, if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. If your eye causes you to sin, gouge it out. He obviously doesn't mean it literally, but he's saying we may have to eliminate people and things and circumstances in our life that are going to lead us away from him. And so Asaph at the beginning of Psalm 83 here is, so Lord, pay attention. The forces of evil are gathering around us, and please don't let them take our life. And when it comes to sin, don't let us take our life, our sanctifying grace away from us, the grace that we need to get to heaven. Don't let them destroy that in us, oh Lord. Lead me away from this temptation. Give me your strength. Give me your courage to stand up against the forces of evil that are coming into my life. That's the way to think about these imprecatory psalms, okay? And so it talks about here in verse 10. So how are we supposed to treat our enemies? And it talks about in these verses here a number of different battles from the past that Israelites were engaged in. And so Asaph is remembering, hey, Lord, the last time we were under siege, remember, you did great things for us. And it talks about Edom and Ishmael, Moab and Hagar, Gebal and Ammon and Amalek, Philistia, right? The Philistines, the people of the sea in Hebrew, the people of Tyre, Assyria, and all these different tribes. And so we continue here in verse 10. It says, treat them, our enemies, like Midian, like Sisera. So Midian was defeated by Gideon. If you go to, well, first of all, there's a couple different things about Midian. So Midian was one of the sons. If you look in Genesis 25, verses 1 and 2, again, Genesis 25, verses 1 and 2. Let's see if I can get there real quick. So Genesis 25, it says, Abraham took another wife whose name was Keturah. So it wasn't just Sarah, because remember, Abraham had concubines and he had other wives. And that wife, Keturah, bore him Zimram, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, right, Ishbak, and Shua. Right. So these were some of the Abraham's other children that were born to him by one of his concubine wives. All right, Keturah. And so Midian, so that's one understanding of Midian. But Midian was also rebelled, didn't follow the ways of the Israelites, and he was defeated by Gideon. So remember, Gideon was called by God to lead the army against the enemies, and Gideon was like, "No, not me." Remember, Gideon tried to talk God out of it, right? He tried to talk God out of it. You know, he said, "Lord, you'll remember this." He said, "Lord, just to see if this is from you, because you can't possibly, because I'm from the least." I'm the least within the least of the tribes, the tribe of Benjamin, and I'm the least within that least of the tribes. And you're going to call me? Let me make sure this is from you, Lord. You see this fleece that's out there? Make the dew fall all around the fleece, but keep the fleece dry. Then I know it's from you. Well, he woke up the next morning and it happened. And then he said, okay, well, let me just double check. This time, make it dew only on the fleece and keep everything else around it dry. And he woke up and it happened. And he squeezed out all the dew from the fleece. So I have to follow the Lord here. So Midian is one of the people that were defeated by Gideon. Then it says, treat them like Sisera. So Sisera was the commander of the Canaanite army of King Jabin. We see that in Judges chapter 4 and chapter 5. So Asaph was recalling these great defeats of these foreign kings by the Israelite armies. Again, if we look at it allegorically, Christ defeating the forces of sin and temptation and evil in our lives as well. So treat them like Midian, like Sisera, like Jabin at the river Kishon. So Jabin was also one of the leaders under Sisera, and he was defeated. In fact, Jabin was the one. You remember when what's her name again? Jael drove the tent peg in the skull of Jabin. This is that guy, right? So he was trying to hide out in the tent. And she double crossed him, and then he came in and then drove the tent peg into his skull, right, and killed him. So again, these are images that are being brought up by Asaph to remember, Lord, how you came to our aid when these other things happened. Those who were destroyed at Endor. So Endor is not the place you're thinking about from Star Wars where the Ewoks live. Endor was a Canaanite city. In which the Israelites defeated the armies there as well. And it continues, make their captains like Oreb and Zeeb. So Oreb means raven and Zeeb means wolf. And these were Midianite princes that were also defeated by Gideon. So again, the way to think about these imprecatory psalms, Christ defeating the power of sin and evil in our lives. We'll continue with that psalm at another time.
For more on the Psalms with Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers, check out Beacon of Truth weekdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio and streaming everywhere you listen to podcasts.